some of our in-store specials. We have 5-Hour Energy Shots, Bloom Energy Drinks, and Blue Diamond Almonds. Each buy 2, get 1 free.
I feel warmer already. Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome. Today, 92.5 FM. And Jimmy, I think this is the first time since Pope has had a 12 o'clock press conference, we haven't been able to play it live because it's not linked. Is that correct? So when I tease it, it's based upon the fact it'll be there. I don't know why it's not there. It's not my fault. I'm not ripping UK. These things sometimes happen. It just does. So we don't have Pope's press conference, and that's just the way it is. I want to mention the game last night. And I want you to chime on this, Jimmy, and then we're going to go to Scott Padgett. I was really ticked off last night. And by the way, I don't know what the greatest fourth quarter is in the history of college football, but that was wow. Wow. That was a great fourth quarter. Everybody says that. Just a great fourth quarter. You know what's kind of interesting? I'm watching the game. And I sort of was watching and doing stuff for the show and stuff like that early on. And because, I can always replay and that kind of stuff. And I just kind of felt that they were jogging for position in the game. And when the fourth quarter happened, I don't know why, a coincidence, I really started concentrating on the game. And both quarterbacks were just beautiful. And I'm really happy for Beck because I don't care that he made $4 million. I really don't care if he made $4 million. I believe he did. But, he went through a lot of crap. Okay. You can say, well, he made $4 million. What? Nah, he's a person. And it was difficult. I mean, he was high on the mountaintop with Georgia. And then they moved on from him. And I think part of it had to do, they weren't sure about the injury. Would he be okay? And his last year with them wasn't as good as the year before, and his stock had dropped. And if you recall, there was talk about him being the first guy picked. So he slipped. Happens all the time. And then after you have that injury, there's a fear factor. I mean, it's on your wing, okay? It's on your throwing arm. I believe it was his elbow, Jimmy. And you don't know if you're going to go back. And you're scared. Okay, you are scared. And he's talked about when he started the rehab, it was painful. I buy that. I've had 2 reconstructive shoulder surgeries, and I've had a couple doctors tell me the only thing worse is childbirth. And Jimmy, maybe, there's a good reason the good Lord didn't make me a female, because I would be terrible. I've said that a million times. Women are much tougher than men. They just are. And Jimmy, I hope you've said that to your wife. I just really hope you said it to your wife.
Yeah, the birth rate would be much lower if men gave birth. I'm convinced. Yeah.
We wouldn't have a population problem in the world. No. And we all adjust to things, but when it comes to that with men, no. I'd be too much of a wimp. I'm not into drugs. But can I see me saying, hey, doc, give me all the drugs you can. Whatever it is, I need it. Give it to me, please. Wow, how I got to that tangent. Anyway, so I'm actually happy for him. He's supposed to be a really nice kid, too. And one of the things they said is that when he went to Miami, he improved his relationships with his teammates versus the way it was at Georgia. That's been said many times. To what degree it is, I don't know. Can't even swear it's true, but I do believe that there's something there. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. And what they said was he literally ingratiated himself with his teammates early on. And so they really like him. Plus, the other thing, in the last 2 games, Jimmy, I know you've seen the postgame. You saw when he's on TV, he's fighting back tears. And so, I don't know where he's going to be drafted. And the truth is, if he has a bad next game, could his stock slip just because it's a national championship game? Yes. But he's going to get a chance, and he's going to make some money, but he's not going to make the money he would have made if he was healthy for his last year in Georgia and played better. That's just the way it goes. So, yes, I'm just happy for him. Here's the deal, though. That last play ticks me off. I don't want to hear this crap, and I heard some of these announcers, well, if there's a second quarter, they would have called it. And the guy who is the official that they go to as the experts said something that's so ridiculous, and I don't give a crap that I was an official. Usually, when both sides are kind of like pushing and shoving or pulling hands or whatever the hell they're doing, when it's both, we leave it alone. That's an awful Awful, awful way of calling it. And here's why. And this is what I want you to chop in, Jimmy, because you were a wide receiver, which means you're going to be biased. I'm not saying that kid would have caught the ball, but it was obvious to any Homo sapien who was watching the game that, guess what? He'd have ran under it. He would, the whole end zone, he was slowed down. He had a shot of catching that if there was normal bumping, not like that. And by the way, I don't blame the DB for doing that. I'm sure they were told to do that. I'm sure that's part of it, to say, okay, can't let him catch the ball. So do that, and hopefully they don't call the foul. I don't blame the defense. If I'm a defensive coach, I'd have done the same damn thing. I mean, the same damn thing. That's what ticks me off. But to say at the end of the game, you're going to call it differently, as that expert official said, is BS. Now, think about it. That doesn't mean that they would have won. You have the ball at the 1 yard line, right? You have the ball at the 1 yard line, and then you'll see. And if they scored, great. And if they didn't, great. And this is not me saying I was rooting for Ole Miss to win. Actually, I did want Ole Miss to win, but that's not the point. I just wanted it to be fair. Jimmy, I'm not saying it's the worst call in the history of sports. That would be kind of silly, but I do believe that's as bad of a call as I've seen all year because of the time left in the game and the situation, and you're talking about playing for the national championship. I think it was awful. You disagree with any of that? And bring it on, brother, if you do.
No, it was absolutely pass interference. I mean, the guy was backpedaling, for the Ole Miss defender was backpedaling from the 3 or 4 yard line, basically, with one hand in like an arm and a crank for the Miami receiver, and then he had his hand up his shoulder pad. Like it looked like he was on punt coverage, is what it looked like. Like he looked like he was trying to jam up the gunner, but he wasn't. He was covering a receiver in the end zone. But you're right. It's exactly what it is. It's almost like an understood thing that, well, it's a Hail Mary. Anything goes. And I think, like you said, that's why the defenders do that, because they understand it's just basically a mosh pit in the end zone, and whoever comes up with the ball gets it, and there's no flags. And it's not right, but is what it is, I guess, is what kind of we just have to deal with.
They took a shot at Chambliss. Did you see him crying?
No, I didn't.
Back tears. That was pretty obvious. It wasn't a long shot, by the way. And I was a little surprised they didn't stay on him longer. And I'm also a little surprised. You know, they always talk to the winner and stuff like that. Why not try to talk to Chambliss? I don't get that. I mean, by the way, you know, talking to the coach and the quarterback, great. With all the time that they have, they can't take a minute to talk to Chambliss. I think that's dumb blank TV.
But they have time for Michael Irvin. Lots of time for Michael Irvin. That's what we want to see, not the opposing team. No.
Well, you're on fire today, dude. I wasn't even thinking that. God bless you. We're going to do Scott Patch in a second, but I find this really interesting. Pete, is it Thamel or Thamel? I always get it wrong.
Thamel.
It's Thamel.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in my head, when I first heard his name, somebody told me it was Thamel, and I just don't have it out of my cranium. Okay, Pete Thamel says, per ESPN source, former ASU quarterback Sam Levitt is headed to Miami on a visit later today. He's been to Kentucky, LSU, and Tennessee already. Hurricanes are up next. Now, I'm seeing another post now about Pope. So you still don't see him, do you?
No.
Okay. I will try to find out later what it is. Conspiracy theory. They're not putting it on YouTube so Alan Cutler doesn't play it live. I know there's some people at UK that thinks I've been too harsh on Pope, you know, but they weren't saying anything to me when I was complimenting him. You know, that's a Marty Brenneman thing, by the way. Remember Davey Concepcion, who I think belongs in the Hall of Fame, and Davey and Marty were unbelievably close. Well, at the end of his career, the last 2 years, he wasn't very good as a shortstop. You know, as great as he was, and remember the one thing, Jimmy, he did that he was the first to do it, that on AstroTurf, he would often throw the ball on one hop on purpose to first base, and it would work. Clutch hitter, great guy, great fielder. But the last 2 years, he slipped, and the Reds let him hang on. And so what Marty did, Marty started criticizing Concepcion as a player. Concepcion was furious. They didn't talk for a long time. And I heard Marty say, and I buy it, and I stand by this, and I believe this before Marty said it, but I'm using him because he's a Hall of Famer. He said, where were you all those years when I was complimenting you like crazy and you never said a word? And now I honestly believe you slipped, and I'm not making it personal, and I'm saying you slipped, and now you don't want to talk to me. And Jimmy, I don't remember how many years it was, but it was a number of years, and they had a reunion, and they just walked up to each other, started hugging. They just started hugging, and they're great again. Now, I understand the athlete who says, hey, this is personal, I'm hurt, and all that kind of stuff, but I'm also taking up for the broadcaster, not because I'm broadcasting. No. You know, he complimented for about 15 years, or whatever the heck it was, and now when he slipped and the Reds either couldn't find a replacement, didn't want to find a replacement, for whatever reason, he's slipping. And it was obvious to everybody he was slipping. And I've always had that example in back of my head. So I hope Pope turns it around. I'm not confident he's turning it around. I hope he does. I think he has to show me. And as I said the other day in the monologue, he's got to show you first, the great Kentucky fan. He just does. He's got to show me too. Okay? And if that bothers somebody, UK, they can kiss my you-know-what. Because guess what this is? Competition. You prove it on the court. And they play Mississippi State tomorrow night, and Mississippi State has won 6 in a row. And Hubbard, I believe, has scored 68 points over the last 2 games, and I don't think Mississippi State is a cupcake. I think it's going to be a tough game. Kentucky has to win. And I stand by what I said the other day. Before they lost to Missouri, that these 3 games, Missouri, Mississippi State, and LSU, were huge. And they couldn't go 0-3. And I still feel the same way. If they go 0-3, and I don't think they will, because I'm going to be positive, they go 0-3, I do not see a way they make the NCAA tournament unless there's tremendous improvement on the team. Could that happen? Sure. And as I said the other day, in September, in August, way back then, I was saying whenever JQ comes back, and I also said this, oftentimes when a guy comes back the first time, he has a much better game than you anticipate, adrenaline's flowing, and then it takes a while to get back into a rhythm. I've seen this many times. And I said, you got to give the kid a month whenever he comes back. I said it a number of times before the season. I'm believing it now. And there was even a question to Pope in the media the other day. Well, you know, what's with JQ? What's wrong? And stuff like that. And I agreed with every single syllable Pope said. What the hell do you want from the kid? No, he ripped his knee. He had a broken bone. And to think that he's going to be as good as you thought he was going to be when he came here, coming back from all that right away, if he could, God bless him. It's difficult. Now, by the same token, too, Jimmy, I think this is fair. If by February 15th, he's not a much better player, then I think you got a problem. I do. Then maybe something has happened. Now, I'm going to believe that by February 15th, he's a much better basketball player. And at this point, I think he's like so many athletes. He's got the physical. It's the mental part and getting comfortable doing what you're doing. I'm rooting for the kid. From everything I've seen and heard, it seems like the world's greatest kid. That's wonderful. But I think some of you who are criticizing JQ, I think it's just misconstrued. Okay, so how I got on that tangent, Sam Levitt is going to Miami on a visit later today, so says Pete. Jimmy, odds are overwhelming he ends up in Miami. There's 2 reasons. Are you ready for the first one, Jimmy?
Yeah.
He's running out of schools that'll pay him the money he wants to make. I'm serious as a heart attack. You know, it's the last man standing. Now, apparently, Indiana just paid a fortune. I'm going blank on the kid who they already got coming in because they got Mellencamp money and Mark Cuban money. Isn't it interesting that Indiana has all this money? Anybody can have all this money. Could be in New Mexico State. Jimmy, do you remember early on when I did the show that I was talking about maybe a Morehead State or somebody like that, and this is not negative to Morehead State, who has some alum who have a gazillion dollars who want to put it in? If you start putting it at Morehead State, could Morehead State start winning 25 games a year? Absolutely. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And so now the number of schools, unless a few more pop up, that'll pay $5 million a year, it's a short list. So I'll bet he ends up with the Hurricanes. And I do believe the numbers that Beck made, $4 million. And guess what? It's gone up. So we'll see. We'll see. And I still stand by what Stein did by moving on quickly from Levitt when he couldn't sign him. I thought it was smart. You don't want to wait. You better get somebody good. I thought that was a decisive, very smart decision. And it was the kind of thing that oftentimes a new head coach won't do that. That was really smart by Stein. Matter of fact, it's one of the smartest decisions that I have seen him make that we know about. There's 100 other things we don't know about, probably 200 things, neither here nor there. So going to Miami. Okay, let's do Scott Padgett. Here it is. So Scott Padgett, assistant coach, Mississippi State, one of the great young men to come through Kentucky. Smart kid. Had a wonderful career here. Wins the championship. Has great friends, great lifelong friends from the guys he played with. Has bounced around like a number of people in coaching. Was the head coach at Sanford. I thought did a really good job. They ended up moving on from him. And he's at Mississippi State, happy, doing really well. He's coming back tomorrow night. And there's all kinds of things. You will hear him sniffling, talking about just losing his father and how his teammates acted, plus losing his father. You will hear him talking about how he stole the championship trophy. And, it's one of those stories I'd never heard before. It's really good. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a young man, he's 50. Either is 50 or going to be 50. Jimmy, that makes me old. I know I say that a lot, but I'm thinking about Scott, and he played in the NBA for a long time. I'm thinking about Scott. Yeah, maybe he's 38, 40, which is silly on my part. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here's Scott Padgett.
This hurts to say to his face, because he'll probably hold it against me. But Scott Padgett is without a doubt one of my favorite former Cats. The laughter we had, and he's not the only one, but he's one of I don't think there's 10 guys. And this goes back like to the 80s, who not only weren't afraid of me, he would throw crap right back in my face. Not the first year, but after you became comfortable, it was like, I'm not taking that from you, Cutler. How about this? And it made for some really good TV because there was never anything personal, and you're quick-witted. So I said something nice, and you heard it. Hello, Scott Padgett, assistant coach at Mississippi State. How the heck are you, dude?
Doing all right. Just, trying to get ready for this game on Saturday.
Now, are you a little more nervous because of the obvious reasons you're coming up, or is it you're going to tell me it's just another game?
Well, I mean, obviously for me it's not, but I don't have any. I mean, once practice is over and minus some play calls in the game or something, like I don't have as much say as the players have on it. So not like I want to win. It's as a coach, I've never came back and won it up. So I want to win. But no, it doesn't. It's weird, like. The nerves that I got as a player, I don't really get as a coach anymore. Like, I feel like as a player, once the game started, I had a whole lot more control, and the players around me had a lot more control than what I have now. Like, at the end of the day, like, whatever, I can call play, and then it's out of my hands, So, like, you try to get as much of your job in before the game, so that they can go play. So I don't know. I don't have the same nerves. I get excited. I get hyped, when a good play happens or something. But the nerves aren't quite the same as when you're playing out there and actually having something to do with what goes on the court.
Makes sense. By the way, Missouri, as you know, beat Kentucky, and it's the first time Missouri has ever beaten Kentucky at Rupp. And you're one of the hottest teams in the league, even though nobody's talking about you. At least I don't think they are. I don't hear anything. But you won 6 in a row, and I love Hubbard. From the first time I saw Hubbard, I loved him. And this is not being negative. Let me finish the sentence. There aren't many kids in the world that can go 1 for 7 from downtown and still get 30 points. I love his game. And he's had 68 points in the last 2 games. And you have this Davis Fleming kid who I don't know, I got to be honest, 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks off the bench. I mean, so obviously you guys are getting it together, but I think, let's put it this way. If Josh Hubbard was 6'4", he'd already be in the NBA, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that keeps him from being basically a lottery pick, like as far as his game, is his height. He's dynamic, like he's got ridiculous speed. He's got really good handle, and then even at 5'9", he's like Jeff Shepard in that they jump so high on their jump shot that even the guy who's bigger than them, doesn't really challenge their shot. like they get up over him even though they're smaller. So with Shep, it was he could shoot over a 6'8" guy. With Hub, he jumps so high and it explodes so quickly that you put 6'4" guy on him, he's still gonna get a clean look.
And he looks like with his pipes a cornerback in the NFL, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely in shape.
I like that. He's definitely in shape. So before you guys show up to Lexington, how many of your former teammates that you probably are texting every now and then anyway, but now all of a sudden, boom, you're coming home. You're going to see a bunch of ex-teammates. Are there some text messages going up and back and stuff like that? The fun stuff.
I would say the next couple of days will definitely. And here's the thing is, I don't blame them, but they're all going to say good luck, but they want Kentucky to win, which I understand. The reality is, like, we have a group chat that's been going on for years now with our, like, it's that 96 to 90, it really got a little bit of like 99 to like 95, really. One guy will put something in there, and then it's like, it just rolls. And so, like, we've stayed in touch a lot over the years about all kinds of different things.
Will there be more guys show up because you're showing up, or it depends upon people's schedules?
I mean, I would bet schedules has a lot to do with it. I mean, it's probably more chance for guys to show up on a Saturday than it would have been if it was a middle of the week game.
Sure. Okay, so your 98 team, not quite 30 years, which kind of freaks me out because the 96 team is going to get honored now, and you're grimacing as I'm saying it. Dude, it's close to 30 years. Does a day go by? I'm sure you've only been asked this 3,000 times. Does a day go by where you don't think about winning the national championship?
I'll show you something real quick. I'm just going to turn this.
Sure.
I don't know if you can. Oh no, I got the background up, so you wouldn't be able to see it. I got my picture in Rupp holding the trophy. I don't know if you even know the story, but like in '98 when we won it, I had been on my hiatus in '96.
I remember.
And in '97, we lose, and I think everybody knows, like, my childhood dream was to win one, and so in '98, we're getting interviewed and stuff in the locker room and everything, and I look over and the trophy's sitting there. And I took it and put it in my bag, and I took it back to the room because I just wanted to hang out with it for a night. And when I came down the next day, like, Brooks Downing and, some of the assistants are all panic mode because they can't find the trophy. I was like, we're good. I'm just taking it back to Rupp, So I got off the bus. I had it. And, like, there's a picture of me, and I'm holding it like this, and I kind of got this goofy smile. And the goofy smile is Searham's, like, asking for it back. And I'm like, I can't really give it back yet. But somebody actually took that picture right when I he kind of stuck his hands out, and, like, you just see me in the picture.
Hey, would you do me a favor? Send me take a shot of the picture, and if it's okay with you, I want to use it for mentioning you on social media, if that's cool. I never heard that story.
Yeah, it was panic mode coming down to the bus. It's pretty funny. And me, like, that made it even funnier seeing everybody. So.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. In other words, your sense of humor is your sense of humor. Oh, you're upset? Well, not me. I had it all night.
I got it. I told you, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Special night, special moment.
Just leave a trophy sitting around, protect it.
It's amazing that it was just like it was in the corner of the
room. Just sitting there at a table set up in there, and, like, everybody, how it is. Like, they have the media that they take you out for, like, the whatever 4 or 5 guys that they take out with coach at the podium kind of thing, and then you go back, and the media that was already talking to everybody else wants to now talk to the guys that just came back from the podium. And so we're like the last group. There's like 4 or 5 of us. We're the last group in there, and the trophy's sitting on a table that, like, I don't know, the table probably had water or Gatorade on it before, like, it's just sitting there, and I was like, I'm getting that.
I don't blame you. You know what that reminds me of? And I know you know this. When you win the Stanley Cup, the cup gets shipped around all over the place, and guys have it and they drink for the cup, and you have a certain amount of time with the cup, and somebody actually from the NHL, which is really smart, goes with the cup, and it's taken to all kinds of crazy places.
Yeah, well, they didn't realize they had me there, so they didn't think they had to protect it, I guess.
Are the kids today much better athletes, about the same? Forgetting about the money and the NIL and all that stuff, that to me right now is superfluous. But is it different? And let me throw one more at you so I can see you pondering. When it comes to the women, and I've said this before on my show, and I believe this, if somebody wants to disagree, it's its opinions. It's all good. Before your time, the Val Still group at Kentucky was a great team, the women's team. And you know, Val and Patty Jo Hedges and Lee Wise, they were really, really good. But today's Kentucky women's team is so much more athletic, and I'm not knocking them. I think women have become more athletic because they're training more and they're starting earlier and all that kind of stuff. So they're kind of catching up. I know some people don't like that, but they're catching up quickly. But now let's go back to the men. From when you played in the 90s, are the athletes today better? Is it the training, or are they not better?
Here's what I think. I think the training now is different. You know, like people are starting to have trainers when they're in high school. Like I didn't lift a weight until I got to Kentucky. You know,
here's what I'm supposed to say. Yeah, you didn't look like you lifted any weight.
I was 6'9", 204 my first day on campus.
Whoa, you were only 204?
I was a twig. But you know what, I will say this. When I was 6'9", 204, I could jump. When I was 6'9", 240, I jumped less, you know?
Okay. So did putting weight on, did it actually hurt you? Because you can put on too much, but you also had to be
initially it did. Like, I think I went from 6'9", 204, like in June, to I was 6'9", 228 when the season started, my freshman year.
Wow.
And so, we used to have this running joke. You know, Cameron Mills and I were roommates, and I came in at 6'9", 224, and he came in at 6'4", 211. And we were roommates, and they do, obviously, you know, nutrition's different now than it was then. But at 10 o'clock every night, they would bring a 20-piece chicken wing from KFC for me to help me try to put on weight. Eat at night, eat some, high calorie thing, eat at night. And Cameron was literally on this, like, you're eating salad and he's having to do cardio and work his tail off. And I'm sitting there eating chicken wings in front of him at 10 o'clock at night. And he's just looking at me like salivating over, like wanting to eat one chicken wing, you know?
I bet he hated you for it. Did I ever tell you the Cameron story? Before his senior year, and I don't know why, I had to go to Memorial Coliseum for something. You remember they used to have the basketball courts across the street before they knocked them down? The blue courts. And as I'm about to walk in, I turn, I see Cameron, and it's July. Okay, and he's just, the typical sweating like crazy, and his ribs are sticking out. And he's shooting, went over to say hi and whatever, and I go, what the blank are you doing? It's July. Why don't you shoot in the morning and night? He goes, Cutler, you don't understand. I'm 178 pounds, and Pitino told me if I don't get down to 175, he's cutting me from the team. And I started laughing, and I don't think he was mad, but he kind of snapped back at me. He says, No, Pitino's serious. And I'm going to get down. I said, dude, your ribs are sticking out. And he looked at me and he says, I thought you knew Pitino. You really don't understand. So he must have hated at 211 when you got a little chicken and he did.
And the thing is, at 211, like, he didn't look bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's plenty of 6'4" guards that are somewhere 205 range. You know, like, he didn't look bad. It wasn't like he looked bad. But I was a stick, so I'm over there eating chicken wings, looking at him, and, he just, probably in his head mad at me.
I would be. So I'm going on a tangent here, but do you wish you played at 210 so you could jump more? And you obviously would be quicker. Anybody would be quicker.
No, I wish the game that we play now with the more space, and I wish, to be honest with you, I wish I played at 6'9", 240, 245, but I wish I played the 5. Because as a passer, like Jokic style game, as a passer, being able to shoot 3 and play the 5, I think, and like people don't realize it. I played the 5 some at Kentucky, like in the Duke game in '98 when we made the run. I was playing the 5, Schumann was playing the 4, and the reason why I get the shot is because Elton Brand, who is a 5, is guarding me, and he can't recover quick enough. He can't recover quick enough. So like, I wish I was doing that the whole a whole time the way the game is played now, because I think I would have been a more well-rounded player in that. Like, I think I was a pretty good passer. I could have hit guys on back cuts and and things like that. And then a lot of fives can't step out, and I think I'm physical enough that I could still guard those fives.
Yeah, and you never back down from anybody. By the way, you were a really good passer. I didn't know you could be modest. Is this a new is this a new pageant or something? Seriously.
Older, wiser.
Well, I'm older. I'm not sure about the wiser part, so you're one step ahead of me. So seriously now, that's really fascinating. In today's game, if you were 245, you would have driven some centers nuts because they'd have to come out, and you were a hell of a shooter, and you would have had a lot of open shots, which to some people like you would be kind of a layup. So basically, if you were born much later, you'd made a lot more money in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more money to be made.
Well, true.
If you think about it, like, guys now are making 60, the top guys are making 60 million. When I played, the top guys were making 20 million. Like, it's, like Karl Malone was making 20 million. He was, whatever, one of the top 5 players in the league back then. He's making 20, which is still a ton of money. I'm not trying to act like it's not, but everything has just grown as far as the paychecks. Heck, I would have made more money in college right now than I would have made in the NBA than I when I actually played.
Well, look at it this way: if always making supposedly 3.5 million, you'd have made 3.5 million, and I'm not saying 20 million, and then some. Do you think about it?
I don't know. I mean, like, here's the reality: is I was a starter on a really good team. I would have made a lot of money, and that lot of money is more than would have been more than I ever made in the NBA.
How's coaching changed since you started dealing with the kids and administrations and because you've been doing this a long time. When you started coaching, you didn't have that white hair.
That's just a halo,
Yeah.
Like, it's different in that, like, I think it's crazy. Like, my development of my game was, I lived in a neighborhood that had tons of kids, but most of them were, like, when I was 12, they were 15, 16. So you played with older kids. It made you tougher. When I got old enough, I could drive a car. I went to Seneca Park and Wyandotte Park, and I played against 30-year-old men. And, like, I didn't have a trainer like, I had a backyard and a goal in the backyard. So every move that I ever worked on was self-taught. I watched somebody do something, and it was self-taught. Everybody now got a trainer. I don't think it's like true, like, fundamentals of basketball skills are taught. I tell everybody, like, and I hope he hears this. Like, my 5th, 8th grade coach was a guy named Joe Weiss, and I told him, for my game and my development over my life, I think Rick Pitino is one of the greatest coaches of all time. I think Tubby Smith's great. But that kid got me ready. That guy got me ready as a kid to be able to do things later in life because he taught me every fundamental.
Wow.
Like, little things about reverse pivots and, shot fakes and handling the ball with both hands, all that stuff. I learned from that guy, 5th to 8th grade, and probably very few people would know the name Joe Weiss as a coach. He was a dad that just happened to coach my 5th and 8th grade team. Funny thing, he's a big Louisville fan, like.
Interesting. Well, I never heard the name, to be honest.
He coached 5th to 8th grade Catholic school basketball in Louisville.
And so you never know where somebody has knowledge. By the way, we have a lot of people in Louisville listening online and stuff like that. So hopefully it
St. Gabriel legend. That's what he St. Gabriel coaching legend.
Wow. It's interesting. Tim Couch said the same thing in a different way. His high school coach was a guy named Mike Whitaker, who really knew offense. Went to Kentucky, moved to EKU, had a wonderful career there. But as Tim has said many times, he said, I got lucky that I was taught how to be a college quarterback, like starting in like 7th grade. 7th or 8th grade. He said, I was so far ahead because of my coaching, and I was going to listen. It's a really powerful thing, that how you can influence a young person early on if you're lucky enough to get the right coach.
Yeah, and I don't think kids get that. There's so much AAU. Like, when I played, I think I played in like maybe 5, 6 AAU tournaments a year back when I played. Like, back when I played, the Kentucky State AAU, you played with your high school team. You didn't play with an AAU team. They all play with AAU teams. You play with our high school team. Like, I still thought one of my biggest accomplishments in high school was we came in second in state tournament with a team that was just okay. You know, like we made it to the second of the Kentucky AAU state tournament. You know, like it was just different. Everything was different.
I forgot that high school. I'm sorry, Scott. I forgot that high school teams were doing that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I forgot that high school teams were playing the AAU versus how it changed so much. I forgot about that.
And I think the other part that the kids nowadays miss out on is the camaraderie, the culture, the building of everything, because you're not staying 4 or 5 years, you know, and building with each other as much because guys are bouncing around a little. And I tell everybody, like, I'm about to be 50. This past week was probably, God, I can't even talk about it on too, but it was probably the toughest week of my life. I lost my dad. And one of the most special things was Jeff Shepard drove 2.5 hours to be at the viewing. And Shep and I haven't played together since 1998. These kids today don't get that. They don't. Nazi Muhammad, Aaron Edwards sent beautiful flower arrangements, so beautiful that like we put them at the gravesite. All my teammates reached out in group chat. These kids don't get that. They won't have that. And to me, that's what part of that is the soul of the sport. And it's just different now. It's just different now. And you can still have good basketball. I'm not saying you can't have good basketball, but the part of college that I loved so much was that getting, we were brothers, like literally brothers. And that was a special time for me. I would, don't get me wrong, the NBA was great for me. I made a lot of money. Heck, I turned 50 in April. My pension's going to kick in. I love everything about the NBA. I did, but it doesn't touch my time, as a player in college.
I wasn't going to bring up your dad. You had told me, but since you did, one, my obviously thoughts and prayers with you guys. And the second thing is, I'm not surprised Shep got in the car and drove that far to be there. That doesn't surprise me at all, nor am I surprised that guy sent you flowers. I think, and you're absolutely right. I've talked about this many times on the show. These kids have no clue about what they're missing as far as relationships 20, 30 years from now. I mean, you guys are friends as long as you're breathing, you guys are friends, period. It's just that simple. And it's not just because you won the national championship, which helps. But if you guys never won the national championship, would Shep have still driven down? Absolutely.
Well, I think, it's one of those things, like, we went through tough times together and we fought through them together. Like the more modern way is if it's not going my way, find a place where it will go my way, and we didn't really, and here's what I'm saying is, it wasn't really an option back then. Nobody talked about it. It just wasn't what you did. Very few kids ever transferred back then. If you did, it was probably because you were forced out because of some things that had nothing to do with basketball. There was so much, you got thrown in the fire so much and you had to fight your way out, and you had those guys were there to help you fight your way through it.
When I first got here, in the 80s, when you were still in diapers, if you wanted to transfer in the league, it was 2 years you had to sit out. And then when Roderick Rhodes, they had a deal as the scholarships became 1 year, which I thought sucked, honestly, because then I think you should do the same thing with coaches, that if a coach leaves, that a player should be able to leave. I thought that wasn't fair to players, and now it's changed even more. It's interesting how it changed. That's how I found out that Roderick Rhodes was going to be on the team. I had a little source inside UK tell me that they didn't renew his scholarship. And so from having to sit out 2 years to not renewing the scholarship to guys now, it's not always about money, and you correct me. A lot of times it is, but guys saying, well, I'm not playing and I don't like this coach. I'm not going to tough it out. I will leave, instead of saying, you know what? I'm going to work harder. I'm going to make a man out of myself. I'm going to become a better player, and I will succeed. And I learned to deal with failure, because everybody has to deal with failure.
I think everything you said is probably correct, but at the same time, the option is there for them, so that it makes that option easy. I just don't think it was so readily available before.
Right.
So you didn't decide to fight through all this stuff. You kind of felt like you had to, like you didn't have another way around. And I will say this: everybody, well, a lot of Kentucky people know my story. Is like, had I transferred, I'm not the person I am today. I'm not the man, like the man I wouldn't have became the player I became. It was the hard struggle of fighting through some things and realizing I got to work harder. I'm not as athletic as that guy, so I got to be this, or I got to be smarter, or I got to be on top of the scouting report even more, or whatever. All those things are what made me go from a guy who my lifelong dream was to play at Kentucky. At 18, I had reached that, The next dream I had was to win a championship. At 22, I had reached that. The going to the NBA thing had never ever crossed my mind until my senior year. Like I never thought of myself, it just wasn't. It wasn't that I didn't think I was good. I mean, you know me. Like I was a confident guy. It just wasn't something I thought about growing up. And so then all of a sudden my senior year, second half senior year, having a pretty good year, like, oh, maybe I can do this, but it was never really that thought process of going to the NBA for me.
You've told me, I think I'm okay saying this, you're happy at State, and I think that's great. And I think they're lucky to have you, because that's how I feel about you. Plus, I think I know a little bit about basketball, just maybe a little bit. But one of these days, hopefully, you'll get back to the state of Kentucky before your career is through as a head coach here somewhere. I hope you're okay with me saying that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, look, I got a job at Samford when I was really young in the business. I was 4 years. I'd only been coaching for 4 years, and you don't turn those things down. But I think from an X and O standpoint, I knew what I was doing at 38, 37. But you don't understand all the nuances that go into coaching really until you've either been in this business for a while and you've really been around some good ones and all that stuff, and they have you involved, or you get thrown into the fire like I did. And there's things that 100% I would do different. There's things that I feel like early on I was very strong in my convictions on stuff, and I let some people talk me out of some stuff that I wish I had never done. I would have stuck to my convictions. But it's a bad taste in my mouth that it ended like it did. And so I would love to get back to, a head coaching spot and just prove that I'm better than I was at that time. And I mean, the reality is like most of my life, the success, all the great successes I've had, there was a big failure right before them. And unfortunately, I guess I don't learn well the first time around, but the second time around, I've usually been pretty good. And so I think I would be a much better coach now. I know I have a lot more connections of people now, recruiting, whether it's recruiting or coaches for advice, different things like that. And I would like another opportunity to, before I'm done in this business, to be a head coach and show that wasn't my best.
It's called learning. And real quick, I'm not comparing you to Bill Belichick. By the way, his book was terrific. But he's the first to tell you that he was this was the best defensive coordinator in football. Becomes a head coach. He was ready to become a head coach, and he will tell you, look in the eye, that he was a much better head coach the second time. Much better. And so, again, I'm not comparing you to Belichick. I think that's called life.
Well,
I think you would be much better.
I feel like I'm pretty strategic. I try to be pretty strategic on things that I do. Like, big part, I mean, obviously they had to want me and all that stuff, but a big part while I'm here is I think Chris Jane's one of the best defensive coaches in the country. And I was a really good offensive coach at Samford, and like just seeing his mind work on defense and learning from him, I think is another reason why I'll be a better coach, because I can be more well-rounded.
A great comment. Thank you for your time. God bless you, dude. Yeah. Now that we're done, I'll tell you the truth. You still are one of my all-time favorites. It's a pretty simple deal with me. I don't change. I'm too old and ugly to change. I respect the hell out of you. You're a grinder, a grinder with talent and you're smart enough to keep on going, I can't do anything for you. But if I ever could to get you back to the state of Kentucky, you call and I'll do anything I can to help you because somebody out there is missing something. Bless you, Scott. Hope I see you for 2 seconds Saturday night before the game. If not, if you're busy, I get it. I wish you nothing but the best, and God bless you, dude. Thanks for your time.
Well, thanks for having me on. You know you were one of my faves. I like messing with you. And, hey, I'll be out on the court. You just come holler at me.
Okay, man. Thanks. Have a great day.
All right, take care.
Now, Jimmy, is it apropos? He said he liked messing with me at the end.
Yes, very fitting.
Was that a beautiful conversation?
It was. Had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jeff Shepard driving 2.5 hours after his dad recently passed and what his teammates did and why he wants to be a head coach again. And he's really smart. I'm a huge fan. Huge fan. I'm also a huge fan of Quantrill Subaru. Yes, from the depths of Mammoth Cave to the rugged cliffs of the Red River Gorge to the muddy boots and long days in the Daniel Boone National Forest and every back road that gets you there. Your adventures are built with Subaru, with legendary symmetrical all-wheel drive, proven safety and durability. Quantrill Subaru is known for. You can push farther, stay longer, and explore without hesitation. Right now, get 0% APR financing on a new 2025 Subaru Outback on the models through February 2nd. Built for Kentucky, ready for anywhere. Quantrill Subaru. Visit QuantrillSubaru.com. See dealers for detail. Reggie Hansen coming up next. Thank you, Scott. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrill Auto Group. QuantrillForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler from the depths of Mammoth Cave to the rugged cliffs of Red River Gorge to the muddy boots and long days in Daniel Boone National Forest and every back road that gets you there. Your adventures are built for Subaru with legendary symmetrical all-wheel drive, proven safety, and the durability Quantrill Subaru is known for. You can push farther, stay longer, and explore without hesitation. Right now, 0% APR financing on new 2025 Subaru Outback models through February 2nd, 2026. Built for Kentucky, ready for anywhere. Quantrill Subaru. Visit QuantrillSubaru.com. See dealer for details.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. WLXG Lexington and LM Communications Broadcasting Station. Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Really hurts to say the similarity between Reggie Hansen and Scott Padgett are eerie. Okay? Both great players at Kentucky. Both great guys. Both with a great laugh. Although I used to say Reggie Hansen is the man with $1 million smile. Scott has a really good smile. Reggie has one of the greatest smiles I've ever seen. Forget back to play basketball. And they have something in common. They both like to really bust my chops. So why am I a glutton for punishment? And having both on the show. Reggie, God bless you. Happy New Year. I haven't talked to you in a long time. How you been, man?
I'm good, man. Happy New Year. Hey, look, I'm above ground, so I don't complain about nothing.
You know, it's interesting. You're always such a positive person. You know, this basketball team could use you coaching defense. They could use you. They could use your toughness. They could use Paget. They could use Sean Woods being defensive coordinator, screaming at these guys. There's a lot of really talented guys from Kentucky who I think could have helped the staff. But that's me. What do I know?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you, Alan. Obviously there's a huge disconnect with this team, with the team, with the staff, and everything. And tell you what I was very shocked at, and really more disappointed, is the fact that I can't remember what player, what his name was, when he came out and talked about the disconnect in the huddle, the scouting reports, and things like that. You don't do that. You keep that in house. You talk with coaches. That's something that I do not like, because you don't come out and throw your coaches and under the bus when it comes to scouting report and things like that. I'm gonna tell you this: if me, Jamal Mashburn, anybody would have did that with Coach Pitino, you would have been sitting for a couple of games, or even with Tubby, you would have been sitting a couple of games. You keep that in house, but you know, with this team, when they had the 2 weeks off before the Alabama game, you know, I'm anxiously waiting to see it. Okay, what's going to be different, right? When they came out to play, really nothing was different. So that was really disappointing. The style, how we're playing, the lack of aggression, the lack of just the intensity and the commitment, that was disappointing. And I think that I just think those guys need to really. They need to in terms of themselves, they need to look at themselves too. And when you're not winning, it's the coaches and the players. But you know, as a player, you gotta have internal pride. Like when I came out to play, I'm gonna tell you this, and you know this, Coach Pitino was one of those yelling guys in your face all the time, even if you're doing well. I mean, I like stuff like that. I loved it. I love when the coach that's intense and in my face. But here's the thing, Alan. I didn't play hard because Coach Pitino was on my ass all the time. I played hard because that's what you're supposed to do if you're going to play the game. You don't play the game just to play the game. You're supposed to play hard. That's why you're there. That's why you're playing the game. I tell people all the time when they ask me about playing for Coach Pitino and things like that. Coach Pitino used to tell the players, and he would tell the media, I don't know if you remember this, that the 2 years I was with him, I never had a bad practice. Never. Not one bad practice. This is why. He would tell the players meeting, he says, Reggie Hansen has never had a bad practice since I've been here. He says, here's why. He says, it's not that he was always performing well offensively in practice. There's days where his shot wasn't going. He may have had too many turnovers, but it didn't affect the fact that he was leading, he was diving on the floor, he was rebounding, he was defending. He said, there's not one day that Reggie Hansen didn't do that. And it's because that's what I'm supposed to do. Had nothing to do with Coach Pitino, had nothing to do with teammates. That's, as an individual player, that's the pride you got to have to, you know, to be able to come out and do that every single day, and then it translates to the game.
Wow. That was a great comment. It really was. I'd like to read this to you. You ready, Reg?
Yeah.
Wait, what the hell kind of vitamins you taking? Outside that little white stuff in your goat, you really haven't aged that much. What is wrong with me that you look so young and I look so old?
I'm gonna say this, Alan. First of all, it's the man upstairs. That's one.
Okay.
But you know, trying to eat right, live right, working out. You know, I don't eat heavy. You know, I eat enough. I don't eat till I'm full. And you know, here's the thing. I've done that from the time I finished playing professionally to now. And it's because when I was playing and I seen guys, when they leave playing professionally, I don't care what sport it is, they gain weight, they start having health problems, bad knees and things like that. I didn't want to get like that. So I pretty much stayed in my workout routine. I'll tell you this, I stayed in my players' workout routine until probably my last couple of years when I was in South Florida. I worked out as if I was a player.
Oh,
You could ask any player that I coach, they'd always see me running. They'd always see me working out. But you know what, too, again, with that, it kind of gave them a little motivation, too, because they were like, shit, if coach is in here at his age putting in work, I cannot not put in work.
Oh, wait a second. Let me interpolate that. Oh, my. If the old man coach is doing it, why can't I do it? Is that a proper interpolation? I can't go this long without busting your chops. It's driving me crazy.
Hey, I'm going to tell you this, though, Alan. They would always call me old man or OG, the players. But here's the thing. They still could not work me at my age.
Are you serious? Scouts honor? You
I'm
were
going to tell you this.
It's when you the last coaching gig you had South Florida. How many years ago? Wasn't that long ago? How many years ago?
I'm going to say I finished coaching South Florida in 2013.
Okay.
When I was at Kentucky with Tubby, I would get in drills every now and then. We had enough talent to where I didn't really need to get in a lot of drills. At South Florida, we didn't have as much talent. So I would actually get out there and practice with the team. This is, like I said, my last year there was 2013. So I would actually get out there and practice with the team. Getting up and down, shooting, defending, being aggressive. But you know, it's a mindset, Alan. It's a mindset that I'm glad that I developed, and it's taken me into just regular life as well.
By the way, I haven't seen, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, a yellow UK hat like that. I'd never seen. Is that new? It looks really cool.
You know what, Alan? I've had it for a long time, and I have no clue where I got it from.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're wearing it well.
Thank you. Hey,
take your hat off and your hairline's receding because you're about perfect. I'm going to bust your chops.
Hey, look. I'm not snowing like you yet. You know what I'm saying? You snowing year round. I ain't got there yet.
You know, if you could do stand-up comedy on the level you bust my chops, you could have made a lot of money in stand-up. I want to read a quote for you. Ready?
Okay.
This is from Pope today.
Okay.
There's no time for indulging and feeling. I spent a lot of time feeling like I'd like to curl up a bit and kill myself, comma, but that's actually not what we do. We raise up and we get back to work and we find answers, comma, and that's actually where the great part of life comes from, comma, is answering the bell. Let me throw one thing out and then I'm going to shut up and I want you to answer. One, this kind of breaks my heart. Two, he is not doing a good job. That doesn't mean he can't fix it.
Right.
I said you can't fix it. I don't buy that. I don't know if he will.
Right.
Hope he will. But I think, and by the way, this last thing I'm going to say, you tell me if it's fair. He's got to prove to UK fans, and you bled for the program. Scott Padgett bled for the program. So you guys are on a totally different level. I'm way down, okay? But he's got to prove to me, too, that he can fix this and turn it around. That's not nasty. This is business. This is Kentucky. These are expectations. This is, you know me really well. This is not being mean. But now, actually, I thought he did a better job last year than a lot of people think because if they didn't have injuries, they might have gotten even further. And as far as they went, I thought was absolutely terrific. So I was really positive last year, but it is what it is. When you play well, you say you play well. When you stink, you say you stink. Right now, they could turn it. Am I being fair? Am I not being fair? Reggie, what say you?
No, you've been very fair. Here's the thing about when Mark was hired, right? So the Kentucky job, and this is just facts, this is, the last 5-6 years, as far as the level of aura has been down. So, when the job came open, the Izzos, the Fuse, all those guys, they don't need Kentucky. They're not going to come out to this job. They got their own name and their own program. Now, that next tier, the Oaks, the Hurleys, the guy at Florida. Now, back in the day, maybe 10 years ago, they would have been telling agents, hey, call, I want that job. But they don't want the Kentucky job because who's won the last championship in a few years? Hurley, Florida. With NIL, they don't need the Kentucky job because now they can get the players. So the thing about with Mark when he was hired, when it comes to that, and I don't think we really went out to any of those guys, that when it comes to hiring Mark, I said, it was a good decision because at the end of the day, when you're not going to get those other coaches, you want to have at least somebody who understands the program, has been there, and really knows what it's about, that really wants to be here, right? And so with that being said, I know, okay, Mark hasn't been a head coach that long, and he's never been a head coach at this level. So I know just from playing and coaching, it ain't going to happen right away. And the fans, some were angry, some were excited, but you got to understand how he came in here with his lack of experience and with the NIL and being able to manage how you recruit, who you recruit. It's not going to happen right away, right? So here's my thing with Mark is what the fans are looking for to really get behind him. This is what. So I'm going to go back to Joe B. Hall. Joe B. Hall was very cocky and arrogant in terms of how he ran his program. Everybody knew it. After him, you had Eddie Sutton. Eddie had his off-court issues, but Eddie was pretty arrogant and cocky about how he did his things. Fans knew it. Then you come to Coach Pitino. Same thing. Very arrogant, very cocky, very confident. When I say arrogant and cocky, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in a way that lets you know, I got this. Then you go from him to Tubby, same way. Tubby was a very intense, I got this. And then to Kyle, same way. So what the fans are looking for, win, lose, or draw, are you confident? How do you feel about being able to do this? You got to let them know. Like if we were losing playing for Coach Pitino, or when I was coaching at Tubby, they would come out to the point where they were like, okay, you know what? We going back to practice, and these guys going to wish they was playing in a park somewhere once we done. Fans got to feel that you are in control and that you're confident in what you're doing. And a lot of times with Mark, when he comes on his interviews, he seems kind of down, unsure. You got to come out confident and sure and just say, you know what, we're going to fix this. We're going to fix this. Be confident, be convicted with it, and then go to work to do it. But the fans don't see confidence from Mark, I don't think, when he's talking about what's going on. And there's a lot of things that within his program that gets out in terms of what's being talked about going in, it should never get out. Anything internal should never come outside that team in that locker room. And so I think if he can just at least show these fans that he's got this, he's in control, he's confident, and show that conviction, show that confidence, a little arrogance too, that we're gonna be all right. I think the fans will start rallying behind him. But he's got to show that with his team as well. But again, Alan, it's like I'm gonna go to the NIL stuff, and people are talking about the $22 million. His thing, if you understand, $22 million, that's just what he had to pay for the players he got. People don't understand $22 million don't mean you're getting great talent. And I'm not just from Kentucky, any team. And what people don't understand when it comes to the NIL, every player in college basketball is overpaid. I'm glad they're getting paid, but they're overpaid. Not one player has done anything to warrant $1 million a year contract. But what happens is one school will come out, they really want, they'll offer them a lot of money. It may be $500,000-$600,000. Then another school comes out and the agent's shopping the kid, and another school says, well, we really want him. Then they'll up at another $200,000. Agent's still shopping, and another school says, man, we'd like to have him. Okay, we'll go up another $300,000. Now this kid's at $1 million contract, and just because of schools bidding against each other, not necessarily because he worked it, because they're bidding against each other to get the kid, and that's how you'll get a kid that maybe average 6 points, make $1 million. And that's just how it is. There's no other way you can do it. You just gotta, as a coach, you got to be sure that if I'm going to pay this kind of money for a kid, I need him to come in and do what I need him to come in and do at that position. So and that's what it is. But we just need to see some more. We just need to see more confidence out of Mark, more conviction that he's got this. It's under control. He can keep things in house and things like that.
He could use you to. They should fly you, and you shouldn't have to pay for the plane ticket just to talk to the team for about 15, 20 minutes before practice. You would be really, really, really good to do it.
I would love to talk to those guys. I really would. I'm a type of guy that I don't sugarcoat. And any player that's ever played for me, one thing they'll tell you, they'll say Coach Hansen was intense. He didn't play, but he was always fair. I'm one of those. This like I was as a player. When I was coaching, I was intense on those guys, pushing them. But those guys know at the same time I cared about them because I have them in my office, talk to them about their families, things like that. So I had a great balance with them. But the other thing too is the career I had. There's nothing they could tell me. There's nothing they could tell me because I had the career to back it up. But at the same time, I have to have balance in terms of really getting on them on the court, or really bringing them to my office one-on-one and getting on them hard and showing them that love, asking them about their families, go grab a bite to eat, what's going on in your life. So you have to have that balance to really get the most potential out of your players.
When you were a senior, if you put that on this team, you'd be the best player on the team even after all these years. Not at your age now, 68. But I mean, did I say something?
Hey, look. Hey, if thanks to the man upstairs, if I'm looking this way at 68, you can call me 6'8" all day.
Come back. How old are you, Reg?
57.
Okay. As a guy who bled for this place,
no doubt,
and I tease Sean, and he's right, but I can't admit it. Sean does a show all the time. We battle like two bickering idiots all the time. He tries to. He had to go to class, so he didn't force me. But he usually tries to force me. He says, "I'm not hanging up until you say you love me." I mean, we really, bicker like crazy. But I don't believe, not all the time, but the amount of kids who play basketball today, this is not a Kentucky thing, this is in general, have somebody who would get in the faces of their teammates as, and I'm not being negative, I'm not talking about physically beating up or anything like that, but as an enforcer to say, we're not doing this. This is what we need to do. If there is somebody like that on this team, that person hasn't been exposed. For example, I got one more. So, OA is back and is, trying to learn how to be a leader, but he's not a really loquacious guy. He's not a really guy to be fiery and stuff like that. I really think they need somebody on this team, and maybe it's just not part of their personalities. People can change, and you can grow into it, but I don't see somebody on this team privately. I mean, it'd be great if I knew about it. Come on, obviously, but privately that we don't know about it. Maybe it's happening, but I doubt it. That gets in these faces going, hey, the way we played this first half, see, the part that bothers me more than anything else, I'm an effort guy. You're an effort. I see a horsepuck amount of effort at times, and I can't stand it. When these guys were hurt, I gave them all kinds of grace. Guys are hurt, whatever. JQ, you got to give them at least 3 weeks more, maybe weeks more to try to get back in rhythm. The kid was out. He had a ripped knee and a broken bone and all that kind of stuff. You got to give the kid grace. I said that in August and September. And there were some people getting on his case and I feel like saying, shut up, leave the kid alone. Leave him alone. Now, if a month now he's not any better, you can say, okay, something's going on. I don't believe that, but he's such a great talent. He's not playing like a top 10 player. Mentally, he's not ready yet. They need somebody privately to get in their faces. When you go to a timeout and they're did you watch the first half of the game? Yeah. I mean, it was driving me nuts. I mean, were you screaming at the TV about the lack of effort?
I'm gonna tell you this, Alan, on my post, because I don't post as much commentary throughout the game like I used to, because it's just so much. But on my last post and whatnot, all I talk about was one is effort, two is I said on my post, we don't have anybody that will get in these guys' face, that will rip somebody apart. And if you don't have nobody on your team like that, it's tough. It is tough because when things are not going their way, when things not going the way as far as the team collectively, now every player is going to go their own way. And then obviously, today even more so than when I played, all these players got even more people in their ears. But you have to have a guy on the team that will do that. And back when I played for Coach Pitino, obviously, I was the leader, but I took a lot of heat from my teammates. Coach Pitino, if times we wasn't playing well, he would use choice words in practice and call me out and say, "You're the leader, it's your team. You know, what you basically challenge me, what am I going to do about it?" And so I had enough respect and equity with coach to where I could stop practice, bring the guys together, rip them a new one, and we go back to practice. And I could get in guys' faces. But it was never disrespectful. And one, I couldn't do it if I wasn't the one giving as much effort as anybody else. And so the guys, I really appreciate the guys that I played with because they didn't get offended. They didn't get mad when I got in their faces and stuff. Because one, off the court, I'm there for them. Off the court, I support them. Off the court, we have had great relationships. But they knew on the court, it's business. And I would get in guys' faces or get on them to pick it up. And they responded in a positive way. And so we don't have anybody right now that does that. And here's the problem is it's hard to develop somebody into being that type of guy if that's not their personality.
I buy all that. And I'm going to say this with kindness because it's going to sound like I'm ripping Pope. And I'm not, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Criticism, yeah. And you tell me if it's fair. And if you think I'm wrong, I'm going to respect the hell out of it because it's you. Even though you don't look like you're 73 like me. In recruiting, I'm really serious. In recruiting, don't you think when you're looking at players, part of the process is saying, let's say you're bringing in 4 kids, and I know it gets tougher in the transfer portal, but you know what? Coaches are smart. You have a million contacts. You can find out about a player. I know it's done quickly, but this BS about you don't know what you're getting, that means you're a bad coach. Because you got coaches, you got assistants, you can be on the phone all the time. You can find out a person if it's an alpha dog or not. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. You just have to do it faster. So what? You're getting paid a lot of money. God bless what you make, but your job has to be quicker. I don't know how you recruit a bunch of kids without saying I have 1 or maybe 2 alpha dogs on the team. I'm not saying it's a top requirement, but I don't know how you put a team together without having 1 or 2 alpha dogs in 12, 13 guys. Or not 12 or 13, I'll tell you why. Because I think if a guy sitting on the bench is tough to be an alpha dog. Somebody who's going to be in your rotation, not having an alpha dog, I think it's tough to win a national championship. I'm not saying you can't, but I think it's one of the things that's not looked at enough. 1, do you think I'm crazy? And 2, am I right that in part of the process, or you're the head coach and you got your assistant together and you're sitting around and you're talking, and you're not going to tell me to go, we don't have an alpha dog. How did we screw up? I think when you put a list together, I'm not saying it's number 1, like I said, but you got to have it. If they have an alpha dog, I think I'd know by now. We'd know by now. And who the hell is it? Am I right? That's got to be part of recruiting.
Now, if they had an alpha dog, you definitely would have knew it by now. But even finding an alpha dog, it's very difficult now because when before all the NIL and the transfer portal, you had years to recruit a kid, years, which means you had time to say, you see him one game, man, he's aggressive, he's an alpha dog. Then you see him a few more games, then he's not. Then you see him more next year, same thing. Sometimes yes, sometimes he's not. And so you got years of data that you can collect in terms of what the guy is and talking to people around him. Right now, you don't have that. And so you can watch film on a guy. You're still not going to know how that player is internally. And again, from a recruiting standpoint, before the NIL and transfer portal, you can have a lot of conversations with that kid and you can know, he ain't no alpha dog. So now it's tougher. Now, back to your point of needing to have one. Yes, you got to have one, even if it's a guy that's not as talented, but a guy that plays his ass off, plays hard, he'll be a rotation guy. May not be as talented as other guys, but he's a rotation guy that'll be in the rotation that he's going to play hard, he's going to challenge everybody else. You got to have one. Now, with that being said, the problem Marcus having with these guys' effort and stuff, it's going around. If you watch college coaches that come out and talk, not all, a lot of them are saying, you know what, if they can't play hard, a lot of them are talking about that. And the reason it's happening is because these players are getting the money, and that's pretty much their mindset. Let me just go get the money. And so you got to be like, at the end of the day, you got to be like the Izzos, the Fuse, the Samsons, the Hurleys, in a sense that you just got to go and find those guys that's going to be, dogs that's going to come out. Not a bad person that's going to cause problem, but a guy that's going to come out, be in the rotation, that's going to challenge everybody each and every day.
Couple things. One, do you know you're doing something that Thomas Jefferson did and I need to do, and you're doing it really good and I'm not? I got you curious. Don't look, you're straining. You think I'm setting you up?
Hey, look, that's definitely my thought.
Well, probably with good reason. When you said you don't eat till you're full, that's brilliant. That's the next thing I need to do. I eat organic, not 100% of the time, but pretty close. My work, be surprised how good they've always been. Even when you knew I was working out and looked really bad. So I'm gonna pull the Thomas Jefferson thing. It's my next thing. I haven't even eaten a meal yet today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to go 30 days with one meal, and I make juices that are really healthy. Do juice in one meal, whatever, but I got to lose some weight. So the next time we talk, hopefully you'll say, Alan, and I know you'll never compliment me unless it's true, and then it'll be hurt you, but you do. Alan, you've lost so much weight. You will compliment me if I lose it, yes?
You know what, Alan, on the serious tip, as much as I want to, tear you down most of the time, if you lost some weight, you lost some weight, I would definitely be positive and encouraging. But here's the thing I will tell you, though. What a lot of people don't understand is losing weight or maintaining weight has a lot to do with the speed of metabolism. Now, when you eat one meal a day, your metabolism is going to go slow because it's taking that meal and trying to stretch it out. You don't have to eat big meals, but I would eat something morning, noon, evening, because now your metabolism starts speeding up to digest that and move to the next because it knows more coming. But you got to...
The juices I'm making have vegetables and stuff like getting stuff.
So you got to speed up the metabolism.
Well, as my doctor told me, Cutler, you're getting old, so your metabolism has gotten slow. I eat so much less than I used to, and I eat really, really good. Perfect, but really, really good. But he said, yeah, your metabolism slowed down. Give a great plug for everything you're doing, please. And it's great seeing your face. It's great hearing your voice. I respect the hell out of you, and people do remember you. This is another way for people to remember you, which is a beautiful thing. Whatever you're doing, give a great plug.
All right. Well, first of all, as much as I bust your, I have definitely have respect for you as well. Can't believe I said that. But anyway, I'm feeling lightheaded. but no. On my social medias, Alan, I put my workouts on there, my motivational videos now. They're on my YouTube. I have over 300 videos on my YouTube where I do just quick motivational messages and positive messages. I still got my coaching company, HansonCoaching.com, where I do a lot of leadership stuff with people, with companies, with teams. And then my latest venture is my concierge delivery service. It's www.mid.serve.com. It's a concierge grocery delivery service, and it's something that's going to be really special. I'm grinding it down right now, and it's going to be something really special.
Bless you, brother. Happy New Year. Appreciate your time. It's great to see you smile, and hopefully we'll catch you down the road. Thanks, Reg. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Back at you. Reggie, look at the smile. The man. Jimmy, does he have like one of the world's greatest smiles, or am I crazy? Seriously.
It is the $1 million smile.
It is.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it. Hey, Jimmy, try to keep that guy straight, all right? I know it's tough. You got a tough job.
I'm trying. That's all I can do is try.
There you go. Hey, what else he does is not your fault, right?
That's right.
Get off my phone. Look at that laugh. Hang up on him. Thanks, Reg.
All right.
See him. That's what he was in college. I can't tell you how many times we ended up some soundbite. And you're putting an 18-second soundbite, 20-second soundbite. It had to be really good to go over 30 for, TV sports. And it would end with a laugh, and I'd hold the laugh because it was natural. It wasn't fake. God bless you, Reg. That was great. Come on, Reggie Hanson, Scott Padgett. And now somebody that some of you will know, but many will not, but he's really smart, and we're late, and I want to get it. And then hopefully we'll have him back another time. Wayne Breeden coming up next. Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914. 859-533-0914. Acupuncture. Now also providing a licensed massage therapist, Ramon Carriega on Versailles Road, a special man. He's helped me tremendously. If you're concerned about your health, and I'm especially people who are my age who can afford, let's say, to take trips, and do kind of things that you're at that point in life you can, and you have a couple extra bucks. I think anybody's crazy not to do this and not to get massages. That's just me. And he's a special dude. Ramon Carriega, please use my name. Call him, go see him, get a package for yourself, 859-533-0914. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Scott. Wayne Breeden coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
The Alan Cutler Show on ESPN 92.5 and 1300.
Nine 263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler for my friends at Quantrell Cadillac. There's something unmistakable the moment you step into a Cadillac. The soft glow of the dashboard, the quiet power waiting beneath your foot. Every detail is designed to move you before you ever move. On the road, it's smooth, responsive, effortless. Advanced technology surrounds you. Performance responds instantly, and the world outside fades away. This isn't just driving, it's arrival. At Quantrell Cadillac, that experience is closer than you think, with exceptional offers including 2.9 APR for 60 months on select models. Luxury has never felt more attainable. Visit QuantrellCadillac.com. See dealer for complete terms.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Reggie Hansen and the time with Scott Patrick was unbelievably special. And now a first-time guest and a hat tip to my dear friend Doug Barnes, who said, "We think about having Wayne Breeden on." I'm going, why didn't I think of that? So Wayne Breeden in the early 80s, 83, was a manager on Kentucky men's basketball, became an assistant at Kentucky under Eddie Sutton, was an assistant with his good friend Kyle Macy at Moorhead, a longtime high school coach, who was actually the coach of the Indiana-Kentucky High School All-Star Classic in 2016, and he knows his hoops. Wayne, it's been forever. How the heck are you?
Hey, it's great to speak to a sports icon today. And I'll tell you, Alan, you're lucky to catch me. I'm not supposed to be in town. I'm supposed to be hustling back to Lexington from a pheasant hunting trip in Iowa. But I hurt my knee last week. Couldn't go. And you'll appreciate the reason I have to hustle back. It's my wife's birthday tonight.
Oh, you got that right.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You.
Well, yeah, it's worse than that. My wife's from Long Island. 33 years. You think I'm going to miss a birthday? I've been married for 33 years, Alan, to a Long Island woman. I'm not going to miss that birthday.
Part of Long Island.
Well, let's test your Long Island knowledge. She's from Lake Ronkonkoma.
Okay.
She went to Sachem High School. Her and her twin sister, who lives in Manhattan, were female athletes of the year at Sachem High School in 1977. What first-team high school All-American was the male athlete of the year?
Oh, that I would have no idea. You're going to have to tell me. I couldn't
Jeff Ruland.
Gosh, was he Studley? Oh, man. Oh,
Yeah.
what a bruiser he was. What a great player he was. By the way, I know where your wife is from. It's about an hour past Hauppauge, where my sister lived for about 40 years because I grew up
Exactly. That's exactly right. And you're from like Long Beach, aren't you?
Yeah, and my front yard was a canal, 2 houses from the bay, a mile from the ocean, and I grew up playing basketball with some short named Billy Crystal.
Yeah, you could probably dunk on him.
No, I couldn't dunk even back then, but you know what? He was a really good basketball player. He lived about 3 blocks from the court that we all used. You just would show up. We weren't personal friends, but I played a lot of ball with him, and I was about 3 blocks another way. You just, after school, nobody does this now. By 3:30, the courts were full. You had to win, otherwise it was next. The competition was really good, friendly, a little heated, but all fun. And no. Wow, I didn't know that your wife was from Long Island. Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, I met her when I was in D.C. I was an assistant 1 year under Rick Barnes at George Mason University, and I met her that year. And a few years later, we got married.
Rick Barnes is like the ageless one. He's one of the top coaches in the last 30 years. And Bob Kessling is a friend, and when he was doing the play-by-play, told me some great stories about what Rick would do. He would call Bob up when he first got the job and didn't want to go. It was nothing negative towards a chain restaurant, but he always wanted to go to mom and pop restaurants to support them and just go in and stuff like that. And he said he was that kind of folksy guy that people really liked. Is that the Rick Barnes you know?
Well, sure. He's from, he went to college at Lenore Ryan in, North Carolina. That's Rick Barnes, definitely. He would enjoy those meals much more than a 5-star restaurant.
Yeah, he really is. Okay. You've watched this basketball team. A lot of former players come on my show, and as much as they love Kentucky and you love Kentucky, they're disappointed. No former player said fire, Mark Pope or anything like that. Nobody's doing that, but they're very disappointed for a specific reason. I thought Mark did a really good job last year. I think he's not doing a really good job now. And Wayne, I'm just, from your basketball knowledge and expertise, as a guy who was a coach for what, 80s, 90s, 2000, did you hit 5 decades as a coach?
No. 32 years, though.
Okay.
And that was long enough. And I would have probably still stayed coaching now, but my father passed away the last year I was coaching, and I had to go take care of a lot of his estate and properties and different things that he owned and was out of town. So I was able, to take care of that, and then came back and coached the All-Star team. But I've enjoyed it from a fan's perspective, not coaching anymore. I really enjoy being a fan. I will tell you this, when you talk about, I'm all in for Coach Pope and this year's team. I was a graduate assistant, Alan, if you'll remember.
I do.
Under Joe B. Hall. Okay, I was a graduate assistant. We started out after the Final Four year. We beat Toledo. We lost to Purdue, lost to SMU by 2 points at home, went to Louisville and went to IU and got beat, and we were 1-4. The sky was falling. Can you imagine in today's world what the social media and the call-in shows would have been like if they had him back there in the 80s? Oh, they'd have killed Coach Hall.
They would say fire Joe B right now. I mean, no question.
You're right. Yeah, and and I thought Coach Hall did a miraculous job. He came in, and this is a true story. He came in and he did this. He changed our offense. He put in a double stack situation that he had ran when he was the JV coach, or freshman coach rather, under Adolph for Pat Riley.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, this guy named Kenny Walker becomes an all-American guy running off our double stacks. And then you had guys like Winston Bennett and Ed Daviner and all those guys, Roger Hart, feeding off of that and being able to score. We won 7 in a row, and before you know it, hey, we're in the middle of conference play, and that team ended up, if you'll recall, we ended up beating Washington. We beat UNLV in the tournament, and Kenny got poked in the eye, and St. John's beat us out in Denver that year.
Yeah, actually, that was the.
So I believe. Go ahead.
I was in Pittsburgh then, but I watched the game, and I've talked to enough people that believe if Kenny didn't get poked in the eye, Kentucky would have kept on going on. And Kenny has told this story many times. He had double vision, but he wasn't coming out of the game. It was Kenny Skywalker.
Well, that's right. And so that's why I think one of the things that UK is going through, and like you said, I'm a UK guy through and through. I think that they've done this. I think we're working on some new offense for the personnel. First, we've got 2 guys back healthy. And, we're playing, I think Coach looks like he's trying to play some double post more. And right now, it takes time to get a new offense in. I mean, I think that's what they're working on. They're trying to get their screening down, their spacing, creating passing angles. And you just don't do that overnight. That takes a while.
Okay, so let me interrupt you, and that's exactly what's going on. As a matter of fact, was it Diabate, I believe, last week, who played the soundbite, and I talked about it a bunch. He said, coach is putting a new offense, and we're not sure what we're doing. And then, by the way, that part is not a shot to the players or the coach. I promise you. I think you know me well enough to know if I wanted to, I would.
Right.
That we're just trying to figure out where to go, what to do, and stuff like that. And so that could take a little while. I respect that, but here's the part that bothers me. And Wayne, I'm old school. I'm not going to apologize for that. When you still don't know where you're going, you can still hustle harder. And that's the part that drives me crazy. I don't think they're playing hard enough. If they're doing that and figuring out where they're supposed to go and stuff like that, and it's not smooth, I'm okay with that, given a certain amount of time. These kids aren't stupid. They'll figure it out and all that kind of stuff. They have to get comfortable. I'm okay with them doing that. I just don't like the lack of hustle that I see, and that's been my pet peeve. But I'm glad you said that. I talked about it last week. That's absolutely what's going on. He had, was it 2 weeks ago he talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that JQ in practice was playing basically the 4 spot, not the 5, because he wants to play 2 bigs together. So, I don't know if you knew all that, but, you're just.
No, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you're just checking out what's going on. As a coach, that's what you see, and that's exactly what's going on.
Well, I agree, and I believe this. I said sometimes, Alan, you're a step slower when you're having to think. I mean, that's a problem. I mean, you can't just react in basketball, because basketball is a game you can't sit there and it's not like football where you get to line up, take a deep breath, go to a huddle. I mean, basketball goes up and down, and sometimes you're a little step slow just because you're thinking too much.
I buy that, and I think that's part of it, but I don't think it's all part of it. I think I couldn't agree with you more about the hesitate. You can't think. You just got to react. You just got to play. But there were other cases where you see that it's nothing to do with that I don't think they hustle enough. But that's me. It's all good. I got 1 minute left. Tell me your favorite and I hope you come back. I'd love to have you come back again and do this. Tell me your favorite memory, just being on the bench, whether it was it's an unfair thing to do with 1 minute, but your favorite memory, favorite story, whatever it is, when you were either a manager or on the bench for Joe B.
Hey, one thing, Alan, we were managers longer years, but they only showed the year we lettered. And back then, usually only senior guys lettered. I will tell you this. I remember being under the basket as a first-year manager when Dirk Minifield jumped over that Mississippi State player and dunked in my face. That was a hell of a play.
You were underneath the bench when it looked like he was like rising like to the third floor. You were.
Oh yeah, I was there, and I mean that was a vivid memory for me. Also, a vivid memory was we played Houston when I was a graduate assistant, and Sam and Melvin block Akeem Olajuwon's shot.
It should have been one of the great posters of all time. I covered that Minifield game, and it's like he was stair-stepping, rising and rising and rising and rising. In the next couple of weeks, I'd love to have you back with a little more time. It's really nice hearing your voice. I will humbly apologize for not asking you to come on the show earlier. You can give all
no problem.
You can give the credit or blame to Doug Barnes, my dear friend, and he thinks the world of you. Happy New Year. Bless you. Tell your wife I said happy birthday. I understand what it's like being with somebody from Long Island.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. It's really nice hearing your voice. It's been a long time, but I feel like now I've just rekindled a relationship, and that's the beauty part of the show for me. So bless you, dude. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you down the road. And thank you again.
Thank you, Alan. Bye now.
See you. Jimmy, I have not talked to him. No, I think I talked to him once or twice when he was a high school coach. Maybe. Other than that, I haven't talked to him since the early 1980s, Jimmy. Whew.
It's a lot of time, a lot of decades.
Was this radio gold today?
That was 3 for 3, I'd say.
Folks, if you missed it, Scott Padgett was spectacular. Reggie Hansen was beautiful. The stories about Scott with stealing the trophy and his dad and everything, it was unbelievable. Reggie was so poignant about basketball, what needs to be done, and Wayne Breeden will be back. Jimmy, have a great weekend. Thank you for all your help. Matthew and Jimmy at 10 on Monday. I'll be back at noon. Brad Taylor coming up next, and Brad Taylor at 2 o'clock. Have a great weekend. Kentucky has to beat Mississippi State. They just have to. And I hope